Hundreds of migrant minors are wrongly sent to adult detention each year due to scam x-rays, rights groups say. This is, again, Orwellian and dystopian on new and exciting levels. Widely discredited by the scientific community's age determinations severely affect a minor's chance of obtaining immigration relief and remaining in the country. These are dental x-rays that are used to determine their age, which, yes, if that sounds like eugenics to you, you are correct. Despite its impact and scope, little is known about the practice of using dental x-rays to determine age. Federal agencies have refused to comply with Freedom of Information Act FOIA requests that seek to learn under what circumstances and how often dental and bone x-rays determine the age of unaccompanied minors. Now, just a little bit of backstory here. So one of the things that Biden did was he said that he basically blocked the border from refugees. And he said, after he made that really, really right-wing decision, he said, well, one of the things that I'm not going to do is I'm not going to separate families, which, yes, you are, because Obama did that too. But what is so extra, and this is oftentimes why I shit on the Democrats more so than the Republicans, is because the Republicans are straight up about it. They're like, yeah, we separate families. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. The Democrats say, we would never do that. And then what they do is they do these kind of policies that separate families in like new and terroristic ways. So for instance, with this bill that Biden did was basically he ensured that people couldn't get across the border, but they left a loophole open for unaccompanied minors. So what this means is that people who are coming with their children will push their children across the border so that they become unaccompanied because they want to try to get them across the border to safety. And I'm saying this as somebody who has heard it firsthand from people who have been down at the border and literally watched parents hug their children, not knowing if they will ever see them again, just so they can get across the border. They have forced people to give up their children to the largest terrorist organization in the world, the United States, in hopes that they might survive because they are not sure that they will. How sick and twisted is that? And here's the thing, they know that they're doing that. This is not like a surprise to them. They know exactly what their policies do. They know exactly what they do. And Democrats, unlike Republicans, pretend that it's a good thing. They pretend that it's something else. While Republicans are just like, yes, this is the thing that we do. Which one do you think is more twisted? And of course, unaccompanied minors also often don't have ID because, I mean, when you were 12, did you? No, also, even if they're older. So what the Gestapo of the borderlands have been doing is doing dental x-rays. According, again, to our own laws, to make an age determination, the Trafficking Victims Protection Reauthorization Act requires multiple forms of evidence. However, advocates claim that the bone and dental x-rays or radiographs have been the only way that they've been determining a minor's age, despite only producing estimates of plus or minus 3 years, which plus or minus 3 years doesn't sound like a lot when you're my age, but when you're 15, that's a big deal. Between 2014 and 2023, more than 6,000 unaccompanied minors under the custody of the Office of Refugee Resettlement were deemed to be adults after undergoing age determination processes. In our experience, kids from Eastern African countries like Somalia and Eritrea, as well as from Southeast Asian countries like India and Bangladesh, have been disproportionately subjected to this process. So they are basically forcing these unaccompanied minors who, as I mentioned, have been accompanied at one point, many of them. They're forcing them to do this eugenics type shit with the x-rays. Then they get it wrong. And then they bus them to an adult detention center. And not so unrelated, a watchdog group found, this is an article from February of this year, watchdog group finds gaps in how federal government vetted the sponsors who migrant kids were sent to live with. Basically, you have a lot of kids then being trafficked because those who are deemed to be minors are just sent to people or sent to child labor situations, are funneled into the large human trafficking ring that the United States is undeniably a part of. I mean, And this is all going on at the border under Democratic president. I repeat, under a Democratic president. And back already in 2008, a congressional committee called federal agencies to cease their reliance on dental x-rays to determine the age of a child, as this was, quote, fallible forensic evidence that has led to the erroneous placement of children in adult facilities. And recent peer review studies confirm that the method is flawed and unable to provide reliable information to determine if an individual is a minor. Regardless, the practice continues. And there's a lot. There's a lot of things that go into, and they continue here, like to estimate the age of an African minor, for example. Analyses often rely on African American growth charts, regardless of the factors that distinguish these populations' development, such as nutrition, exposure to germs and viruses, body weight, hormones, and genetics. So they compare them of African migrants to African Americans when these lived experiences look nothing alike, right? How can you possibly suggest that you'd have a legitimate idea of the age? The methods that they're using are racist and they don't work. They're unethical. It's eugenics. It's creepy as shit. As one person put, that this smacks of discredited race science. And of course, and this is a point that has been made by myself and others in terms of AI, you can't build systems outside of the systems that build them. So AI is going to be racist. Why? Because a racist society built it, right? You can't separate the two. So these methods are racist. Why? Because the US is a white supremacist nation state. You can't tease them apart. I oftentimes say that imperialism is a home game. And so the idea that somehow we would care about the fate of children in the US, whether they're migrant children or not, is absurd, right?